Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe, because tonight's story is not just another horror tale. It's a chilling experience that will follow you, even after the video ends. It was a cold October evening when Daniel, a young filmmaker, decided to explore the long-abandoned St. Mary's Orphanage, a place closed down decades ago after a series of unspeakable tragedies. The building sat on the edge of town, wrapped in fog, its broken windows like hollow eyes staring at anyone who dared approach. Locals whispered that the orphanage was cursed, that children's cries could still be heard at night. Daniel wasn't a believer in ghosts. He carried only his camera, a flashlight, and the arrogance of someone who thought fear was just a story. As he pushed open the rusty gates, they groaned loudly as if wanting him to turn back. The ground crunched beneath his boots, littered with dead leaves that hadn't been disturbed in years. Inside, the air was stale and damp, filled with the smell of rot and mildew. Long corridors stretched into darkness, with paint peeling off the walls like decaying skin. Suddenly, his flashlight flickered, just for a second, and in that brief moment of darkness, Daniel swore he saw the silhouette of a child standing at the end of the hallway. But when the light steadied, there was nothing there. He laughed nervously, convincing himself it was just his imagination. Room after room, he found old furniture, broken toys, and dusty beds. Everything was frozen in time, as if the children had vanished overnight. He recorded everything, speaking to his camera like a confident narrator. But then he entered room 313. The door was slightly ajar, and carved deep into the wood were scratches, dozens of them, as if someone had tried desperately to claw their way out. Inside, the room was colder than the rest of the building. His breath turned white, and the camera picked up static, even though the battery was full. On the wall, written in faded chalk, were words, "Play with us." Daniel's hands trembled as he adjusted the lens. And then softly, barely audible at first, he heard the sound of children giggling. The laughter grew louder, echoing through the empty room. His flashlight dimmed again, and in the far corner, a shadow began to form. Small at first, like the outline of a child, then another, and another. Soon, the entire room was filled with shadowy figures, children, faceless, their heads tilted unnaturally to one side. Daniel stumbled back, his camera shaking violently. "This isn't real," he muttered. "This can't be real." The children stepped closer, their laughter turning into distorted screams. And then everything went silent. Breathing heavily, Daniel bolted from the room, racing down the hallways. His footsteps echoed like gunshots in the empty corridors. But no matter which way he turned, the halls stretched longer and longer, twisting into impossible angles. It was as if the orphanage itself had trapped him inside. Finally, he reached the entrance door. Relief washed over him. He grabbed the handle and pulled with all his strength, but the door wouldn't budge. It was sealed shut. And then, from behind him, a small voice whispered, "You're one of us now." The camera fell to the floor, recording only static. Days later, police entered the orphanage after locals reported strange noises. They found the camera, but Daniel was never seen again. And to this day, when someone dares to play that final recording faintly through the static, you can still hear children laughing.